Hello, welcome back to Raw Talk with Dr. Brandee and Dr. Cami. It is 2026 and January, and we are jumping right on into things. How are you feeling, Brandee, about this new year? Are you let's see, we are what, 10 days, 11 days in? Have you figured out any goals or things you want to accomplish, and how's all that going for you?
Um, well, I think my biggest goal to accomplish this year is understanding the energy of 2026, right? Because as a spiritual teacher, as a leader, as a human being, I want to tap in and go, okay, what is this year about? Because we always say we're in transition, which we are. We're always. I mean, we would not be human if we weren't always in transition, progressing. So I've been asking, what is 2026 year about? And the theme that keeps coming up is it's the year where we get to take a higher perspective look at this life. So, for example, you might be feeling old memories, old experiences repeating themselves. Now, if you look at it from that past experience, then you're not growing. But if you look at it from 2026 from a higher perspective or a different perspective, so we can raise the vibration of the planetary existence, then we're growing. So things coming up aren't meant to, like, as a repeat, for example. It's about, okay, when I experienced this last time, this is what I did, but it's different now. Our consciousness is raising, how we're seeing the world is raising, and we have a big decision to make in 2026. So I believe for me, 2026 is clarity for myself as a my own star system, and as a planet that we share as individual star systems. We all get to look at it, and if we do that deep work, I feel like we'll grow tremendously this year. What about you?
I love that. Very similar, I would say. Um, a little bit more focused inward, I think, rather than outward. My outward perspective is letting people be, versus feeling like, I mean, I know I'm a teacher, but allowing students to come to me and understanding that not everybody is ready for this work and not everybody's here for that. Some people are here to experience just like, not, I don't want to say lower level, but like just to experience what happens to them being here. And for me, I'm not here to have things happen to me. I'm here to be a part of it and to see it from a higher level, like you said. So right now I am doing a 40-day ritual Kundalini Kira practice of just that awareness around past behaviors, past belief systems, and looking at the comparison between that and the things that I've done, and then where I want to be for the end. Like, if I look at this next year when I'm at 2027, what do I want to see changed? And then, like, you have to compare that to what's holding you back, because you cannot grow being the person that you are right now. You cannot be that person that you want to be being the person that you are. So you have to let go of a lot of things and, like, say, you know what, I'm done with that behavior. I'm done with that pattern. And I think it's really interesting to do, because I'm like, oh, okay, there's a lot that I've been sabotaging myself with different beliefs of, like, well, it's fine. Like, I deserve to treat myself this way, or I deserve to do that or this. And then recognizing that the different levels of, like, when you want to change something, when you want to be new, it takes a lot of conscious effort. It takes, and that's the hardest part, is like the patterns and the things that we're used to and the things that we are doing, they've moved into the instinctual body centers. And so it's like when you are learning to drive or take, like, dance a new routine, like, you have to be so mentally engaged, and then at one point it just shifts and you don't have to think about it anymore. And so I'm trying to move away from that instinctual, I don't think about it anymore, I just do it. And changing that it's a lot of intellectual power and a lot of conscious thought in that. So that's what I'm doing.
I think that's beautiful. I do think we're picking up on the same energy. I'm gonna go a little bit backwards. What you said about cycles. You didn't say cycles, but we as human beings, I think we're all here to have an experience, and it's just up to each of us individually to decide which energy portal dimension that we want to have that experience in. So if you want to stay here, and it's not about lower meaning better than or less than, it just is, right? So if this person is experiencing it from a lower frequency because they need to move through that frequency, it does not mean the person who's made it through 5 frequencies is up here is better than. It's just where they are in their experience. And I think it's dangerous to compare that way in a sense of, oh, you think you're better than me. Say, no, that's not what this is. That to me would be dark, because we're not honoring each other. It's not about better than or less than. It's about just being where we are vibrationally. So you mentioned we have, some people want to experience, and we all are. Now, I love how you said, I want to be conscious of that experience. I want to be conscious of it. So it's not just happening to me, but I'm with it. And that is different. And I want to talk about the difference between conscious energy, subconscious energy, and imagination. But before I get there, I wanted to loop it back, how we are all in a loop, right? We go to work, we come home, we take care of our kids, we do something different, like maybe work out or watch a movie, and then we do it all over again, right? And so this is an opinion, but from my observation with my clients, I feel like a lot of depression and anxiety is because we're living in a loop and we're not engaging in that human experience that we're here to do, right? I always say we're here to have a human experience, not a spiritual experience, because we are spirit. But it's so lovely to have a spiritual conscious while we're having the human experience, right? To remember who we are. So if we talk about consciousness, and I love how you said, I want to not just essentially be robotic, use a different term. I want to actively know what I'm doing and shift that. So it's not like, oh, I'm just doing it because I have to do it. So I'm reading a book called Neville Goddard, really good book. I'd recommend this. But he talks about 3 components, which is imagination, subconscious, and the conscious. Now, the conscious is you and I, Dr. Cami, we're having a conscious conversation. We're choosing what to talk about, right? And so the conscious is the masculine energy of creation. It's like creating a blueprint. And then the subconscious is the feminine energy that nurtures and feeds the conscious. So if you go to bed at night and you say, I hate my life, this sucks, why am I here? Then your subconscious goes, ooh, I want to support him. So then it gives you all the reasons to keep living that the next day. Right? So it's essential that we consciously are aware of our thoughts and what we want to do, and we imagine it. Right? So, I mean, we do this on both spectrums. How easy is it for us to go worst case or catastrophizing, right? And then it's like, of course this happened to me. Well, of course it did. You're a powerful being, and you told your subconscious you wanted this to happen. Now, I'm not saying certain things don't happen by accident, right? That you didn't will it for it, it just happens. I'm not saying that. There's too many elements in this earthly experience to say that wasn't a thing. But I'm talking about the things that you do have control over. So imagination, you can either imagine the worst case scenario, or you can imagine the best case scenario. And then you can make resolution before you go to sleep of which one you want, so your subconscious can feed that, right? So if you relate it to trauma, someone who has a trauma experience and they think about it before they go to sleep, their subconscious keeps feeding that, but it needs to be, in therapy, we call it unburdened. It needs to be released from that pain it's carrying. But we have to move from a trauma bonding era to a healing era. Because in trauma bonding, we hold on to it because we want to compare our trauma with our friends and with our peers and with our employees and our coworkers. Because this morning I was in the sauna and I'm meditating, and this group of people come in and they start talking about who was poorer than the other one. And I'm like, and you're listening to them. And in my mind, I can be like, I can probably say, if you're that poor, these things wouldn't have been happening. And, as I go, yeah, when I was a kid, I was super poor, but I got a ski pass the whole time. It's like, if you're poor, you can't afford a ski pass. But, right? So the thought patterns lock us in. And so we have to be aware of imagination, according to Neville Goddard, is one of the most important things. What do you consciously want to do? And that's what you were talking about. I want to consciously choose to be different. Before you go to bed, take that and apply it so you feed your subconscious what you want. So if you want to say, okay, consciously I'm in pain, I want to heal that, and imagine yourself healing so your subconscious can start doing the work. So that was a lot. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it because we both study very different lineages, I would say. Maybe not very different, but we study different books and different stuff. But when we get together, it's like, oh yeah, we just explain it in different ways.
Yeah.
And so it all resonates. It's just like listening to, and that's what the point of a teacher is like you can read all these books and you can study, but a teacher teaches by giving you stories, giving you examples and the parables and breaking it down. And that's where the teachings are, is in the stories that they offer rather than the lessons per se. So it's nice listening to you because I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Where I learn it more of like everything that is bad, let's say, is mechanical and unconscious. So if you're like picking your face and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore, but then you're doing it, it's because it's mechanical. You're unconscious of it. And everything good is a conscious act. And that's where the difference between imagination and manifesting is like imagination is like what ifs, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that, but I'm way down here in this hole where like I'm anxious as heck because I'm going to lose my job, everyone's going to leave me, I'm going to live in a van down by the river and contract a disease and like and it like goes wild. And then when you're like manifesting, you're and visualizing, you're saying, no, I'm going to consciously bring that image and that future and the dreams that I have, and I'm going to imagine them this way, and you're going to bring it up. And you can't, we always say anxiety is a feeling. You can't think your way out of it. And the prayer and the manifesting comes with a feeling. So you have to change that feeling you want for life. It's not always about like, well, this is what I want, because how it comes, if you're too much in the ideas of like the controlling piece, it's going to present something to you and you're going to be like, no, I don't want that. I want it this way. And then you're not going to experience the feeling that you want in your life. And so it's like imagining what it is that you want to manifest. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to be so stinking wealthy that all my descendants never have to work again. Like, okay, cool. Like, great. If there's no unrealistic goals, there's only unrealistic timelines. But it's like, that conscious effort of like changing and imagining is the point. And so it's like when you start to recognize the unconscious mechanical pieces of your life that have just been ingrained into the body center, you have to move it into the emotional center, and then the work center, the intellectual center comes in, where you're like, hey, I'm going to do the work to get there. I have the feeling that I want my life's like my goal for many, many years has been, I want more joy in my life. And I want the background frequency of my life to be joy. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be sick or angry or sad or all of these other experiences that you say is going to be there. But the background frequency that I want to feel in my life is joy. And then however that presents itself to me, like it comes in ways that I can't predict. And I think that that's really important to recognize, is that feeling piece. And so when you're stuck in those anxious places, or like you're feeling like you can't move, it's like you're not praying with your spirit yet. You're not feeling what you want. So it's just interesting, yeah, how we explain things.
That's where I think Neville Goddard would talk about. Well, that's why imagination is so important, because you can, like you said, go to this extreme, but you can also go to this other positive extreme of seeing yourself be successful, seeing yourself be joyful. But the difference between that imagination is you can manifest both, right? Because you're sending it out to the world and your subconscious is feeding that. So manifestation, essentially, if you believe it enough, it will happen.
The
Now there's,
feeling.
you can feel it. Like here's a story you might like, I don't know. So one day, myself and my mom went to a, a cell phone store, right? And I walked in there because I'm always like, yep, everything's gonna go smooth, everything's gonna go fine, blah, blah, blah. So I walk in there, I talk to somebody, they're like, yeah, we can get your mom's phone to change to this. I was like, cool, great. I'm gonna go grab her and have her come in. My mom was always, because of her trauma, is in the negative. Nothing good happens to me, everything bad happens, it never works right. So I'm not kidding. I get in the car and she goes in and she comes out crying because the lady, who I did not talk to a lady, I talked to the man, would not help her. So then I'm not kidding. I walk back in and the lady goes to the back and the guy comes to the front. And I was like, hey, my mom just came in here. And she is, they were just told her that they couldn't do it. And so I told my mom to go to the guy and he did. She went in and it was fine. But in that moment, I was like, holy crap, let's talk about manifestation. I'm manifestation good, and there's a role player who showed up to manifest what I wanted. She's manifesting nothing's good enough, walks in, they swap roles, and it feeds her subconscious. Is like, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make you say nothing good happens. Right. So the definitions of imagination and manifestation, I think they come together, positive or negative, in our realm of this current world, because I've been hearing a lot of people say there's no good and there's no bad. I'm like, that's hard to say in this world when there's so much violence, and pain. There's not going to be bad. But overall is imagine what you want to manifest. But the difference, what do you think the difference is between imagination and manifestation? Because a lot of people imagine,
Yeah.
but they
I
don't.
think it's a feeling. I think it's a feeling. And I think that there's a level of responsibility that happens when you are manifesting, because you have to change who you are to become who you want to be. And I'm not saying, and there, when bad things happen especially on repeat, and you're like, why is this always happening to me? There's bad things, like you have to take responsibility to some level. And I'm not saying that like you having sexual trauma, that you caused that because you have anxieties and stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can look back and say, I'm going to take responsibility for not knowing better, my bad choice in partners, I just didn't know because I was a kid. But I know now. I'm not going to let these kind of things happen to me, and I'm taking responsibility on that level. And like for me, it's like, I'm going to take responsibility for the fact that I really like to buy clothes and I've got way too many, but I also really want a bank account that has this amount. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I don't shame myself for my past. Everybody knows I'll let you know. I don't shame myself for those choices that I made. But I'm going to do better now. I'm going to, so you can take that in all situations and say, what can I take responsibility for? There's a Joan of Arc quote, I think it was her, that has been resonating with me. And it's like, when you act, God acts. When you work, God works. And so there's a dual responsibility here for creating a life that you want. Is yes, there's the imagination piece. There is like the feeling, like praying with your feelings and praying with your heart. Like, I want this better life. I want that. But what work are you going to do? When something presents itself to you, you need to take that step and then wait for the next step to present itself and then keep working, right? And so that takes recognition of what am I doing to sabotage myself? And why do I keep putting myself in these situations? Why do I keep doing this and that and that? And I know that can be triggering for a lot of people, and it's not meant to be. It should. I hope it comes across as empowering rather than like blaming or self deprecating or anything like that, because that's not what I mean. So.
Right. But we understand that in when you come to this planet, you take a risk for people who are not awake and may cause you pain, that you were in the wrong place, the wrong time. I mean, we don't have control over all of that. But what I hear you saying is you have control over your healing, what you're going to do next type of thing. And we do have to manifest. It is so essential to see yourself healed, to see yourself healthy, to see yourself empowered. Sometimes when I manifest or when I'm imagining, and I'm like, okay, I want this, and I start imagining, it takes me weeks to get out of my head of why not, like the bad stuff, not the bad, but like the blocks, right?
Yeah.
And then I keep doing it until I can feel, like you said, feel, oh, that feels really good. That feels like truth, right? Then I know that I will not get there unless I take the actionable steps every day to get there. So when people are like, I just dream and I just want to drop in, it's like, but you are a god or goddess, so therefore you have to take the actionable steps to make it come into reality, or it won't. Right? We have people who talk the talk but never do it, and then you have people who are like do all the stuff and you wonder why they're so amazing is because they're doing the work. But there's a lot of balance between all this. So I think it's important to understand our consciousness, right? And you brought up something, not not right now, but before we jumped on, about how do you get to know your soul enough to utilize these tools of the subconscious, conscious, and imagination and manifestation. How do you get to know yourself? Because there's so many opinions out there. I always say there's beautiful knowledge in books. I mean, they're great, but the truth of the expansion is within yourself. And if you're only relying on the books and the not, and I'm not like, I love reading. I'm reading, I'm constantly reading, constantly expanding my how I see things. But I also take a moment and I go, okay, how does that resonate with me, my soul, my spirit, my star system? Because we are surrounded by opinions everywhere that may not resonate with us.
Mhm.
So how do you get to know your soul in that way?
Um, the only way that I know is to listen to your desires and take steps towards them. And a desire is not a bad thing. And a lot of people will bring up like, pedophiles or something like that. And when it's your spirit speaking, it's not going to be harmful to other people. And that kind of desire is based off scarcity and a whole lot of other things.
Right.
So when you like you asking yourself every day, like if you said, what do you want to do today? If you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And you have people say, I want to fly off to Bali. I want to leave all of this behind. I want to go start a new, okay, you haven't been listening enough. And so we have to start smaller. And so it's like every day going like, what do I want today? How do you want your coffee? Like if you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I just want a coffee cake, like this coffee cake down at this market, like this coffee shop. They make the best. Like for me, it was when I lived in my old town, it was this certain type of coffee at the coffee shop. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just craving it. Like I just want it. Let's put it in the context of like desserts. And so like you're like, I woke up and I just want it so bad. But I've got all this stuff going on today, but I might be able to squeeze it in here. So I'm gonna go do it then. And it's the feeling of that, of like, yeah, I'm going to allow that. I'm going to allow that for myself. And whether or not you get there and you're like, hey, well, maybe tomorrow, like I didn't make it there today, but I'm going to get one tomorrow. And it's just this like, yeah, about that desire versus like you wake up and you want that coffee cake or that donut or that whatever. And you're like, oh, I can't do that. Why do I always do this to myself? I always self-sabotage. I'm on a diet. I can't have this stuff. And now that's all I want to think about. And you like shame that.
Yeah.
It's the feeling piece. And so when you start to like allow that desire to come in a little bit and you don't feel like bad about it. And we've been taught that desires are bad for a lot of reasons, right? Um, and that we had talked about that too, of all like these judgments and these things, especially when you're looking at different religious backgrounds where like you're going to hell if you follow these things or if you do these things and stuff like that. And those are important for creating boundaries, right?
Mhm.
Um, but when you move into, let's say, what we'll call second level teachings, which is like Tantra, like there's Buddhism, Tantra, right? And then um, what is God in Buddhism? I can't remember, but like, or like Christianity, Gnosticism, and God, or when you get to that second level, like Tantra is a good one because people really like connect with that word.
Yeah.
It's like yes for everything, and sex is a great way to sex becomes like the way to like understand it because it's something we can all connect with. But
But I
with
like
that,
saying yes to something that's
it's
good.
bring your
So,
own boundaries. You
yes.
cannot go into you cannot go into a tantric teacher or like lifestyle. Sorry, I know this is really like itchy without your boundaries because not everything is for everyone. Some people can drink alcohol, some people can't. And so when you start tapping into those little desires every day, you're letting your soul speak to you and you're creating a blissful life where you feel like you're blessed because you're allowing that joy to come in. But you also need to bring your own boundaries and you don't want to harm yourself or other people. So
Well, I think you said it perfectly. So if I would say, what is 2026 energy about? It's about what you just said. It's about following your desires, looking at like if you ever shamed yourself or doubted yourself because you have the knowledge. Like we're talking about adults here that probably experienced a lot of this, what someone thinks is good, bad, or indifferent, right? So you're looking from a higher perspective in the sense of I have this knowledge base. So what is my desire today? Oh, my desire is this. Am I shaming myself or am I moving towards it? How do I see it from a different perspective? And how do I gain that next level of experience? That's why we're here. And I think that's what 2026 is about. And I think through that, and I think you said it's so perfect, um, come with boundaries, honor your desires, accept them, move with, because we got boundaries, and see it from a different perspective, and your clarity of how you see will expand.
right. Right. And the point is to, like I like to bring back to that tantra piece because when everything is a yes, then we start to recognize that even the lows of life doesn't mean it's kicking everything out from you. You can still have that background frequency of joy, right? It's still, stress and anger and sadness and tragedy is part of our experience on earth. And that doesn't negate the the bliss that you can feel every day. And the reason I'm going to just wrap this up because I think it's so cute. The reason sex is such a great way to express as an example of tantra is because with sex you're always like either moving towards orgasm or this is making towards that goal or this is away from that goal. And like when you start to change that perspective of like could you see what all pleasure feels like. And even if you don't reach that peak of happiness or orgasm, but like the whole experience can be pleasurable and enjoyable, um, then you're moving into a life where magic can happen all around you at all times. And I think that that's important because we very quickly taking obviously take responsibility too. I forgot to add that piece in as far as the things you were listing, but when we're like you said, our brain seeks validation. And so if you feel like everything is wrong and harsh and hard, your brain is going to seek that out. Just like if you were driving down the road and said, I'm going to see how many red cars I see today, you're going to see a lot of red cars. And so we have to understand the neuroscience of our physical body that actually supports a lot of these spiritual teachings so that we can start to adjust. And that takes a lot of brain power to do. It has to start there. So if it's overwhelming, that's okay. Remember, there's no unrealistic goals, just unrealistic timelines. So you just have to be in the moment, which is just thinking and doing the same thing at the same time. That's what being present is. And
But
recognize.
I feel like I have to use your example because um, if that person wants to go to Bali, then use the right timeline to get there.
Mhm,
Start small, but see the bigger picture.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, every little day, just okay, that's still my main overarching feeling of what I want in my life. I want that peaceful, easy beach life. So I'm going to do a little bit today to get there. How can
Yep.
I bring that feeling into this day in my
Yeah.
cubicle that I hate?
But it's so true because that's how you imagine and manifest into something greater.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think understanding, yeah, we can probably keep going, but I think that was great.
Oh yeah, I could keep talking, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So be aware of your conscious, your subconscious, your imagination, and your manifestation. See things in 2026 from a different perspective.
Exactly. And have fun.
And have fun. I love it. Okay, we'll see you guys on the next journey. Thank you so much for joining us on Raw Talks with Dr. Cami and Dr. Brandee, and we look forward to seeing you next.
Yay.